Good morning. I'm Cecil Haycock, pastor of Walker's Chapel at Mount Jackson, Virginia. Today I'd like to talk about the theme, It's Supernatural. In our time, there's a new emphasis on the supernatural, and one of the things that has increased this interest is a program by Sid Roth called It's Supernatural. The nature of this program is something that tells us that we may have an out-of-the-body experience. You see, people may be sedated, and while their body is asleep, then shall we say, their soul leaves the body and is able to travel. Sometimes it may be travel up into heaven, where there's all kinds of blessings and so on, but sometimes it could be end up in hell. So now, you see, if you watch some of the programs on YouTube, you'll be able to see some of those things that I'm talking about. But you see, though, in the Old Testament, there were people or angels that came and provided help for people who needed help. And one of these that I'd like to point out is found in the book of Judges, and it's by a man by the name of Gideon. Now it says, "Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth tree which was in Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, while his son Gideon threshed wheat in the winepress in order to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, 'The Lord is with you, you mighty man.' And he said, and Gideon said, 'Oh, my Lord, if the Lord is with me, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all the miracles which our fathers told us about, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites.' And then the Lord turned to him and said, 'Go in this might of yours, and you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you?' So Gideon called help to come, and it was 20-some thousand who came. And then the message he got, that's too many. And they cut it down to one half. And the message he got was, well, that's still too many. And there was a way they tested who was going to be chosen. And the way they drink water, instead of getting down and lapping it up like a dog, they picked it up in their hand and took it. And it was only 300 men who did that. And the angel told him, said, 'Go with these and you'll win.' And if you remember the story, they went out. They had a pitcher with a candle in it, and a trumpet. And then when the Midianites were there in the night, they broke the pitcher. The light flashed out. They blew the trumpet, and it upset the Midianites. And they got so excited, they started fighting each other. And they killed a lot of their own group, and then they rushed away. So there was the victory through the angel as he guided Gideon. Well, I want to go on and say there were other things we find in the New Testament how the Lord has provided someone in a time when there's a special need. And I'm sure you've heard of these experiences. And sometimes it may be they suddenly appear. No one sees them except you. They do their work and then they vanish, and people has not seen them. But it's amazing how this happens, and it happens far more than we may realize. Now, there's a book that I really enjoy. It's one of the chicken soup books, and this one is called A Book of Miracles, and this is one that has a story that, I mean, it's amazing, and yet I might say it's delightful. She said, "I never make pork chops without remembering her face and her kindness. I met her in a gas station on I-75 in 1968. I was young in a terrible marriage, and I was very pregnant. All I wanted was to reach my sister's home on Christmas Day. My husband and I left in the early morning, and he assured me they would be able to make it to the house, his sister's house, although he had bad tires on the car and only one tank of gas. So we left with no food and no money. I just wanted to feel normal, to laugh with my sister, and I wanted my stomach to feel full again. The tower blew out somewhere between hope and despair, and my husband managed to flag down a passing motorist who took him to a gas station to repair the tower. I had plenty of time sitting along the side of the interstate to muse over all the events and the decision that had brought me to this moment in my life. I regretted the marriage, but I was also clueless as to how I could help myself. And now I was so hungry, I thought I would die. It had been 20 hours since I had eaten, and my unborn child was kicking in protest. Finally, my husband returned with a kind stranger who drove us to the gas station as a wrecker pulled our car behind it. The generous man paid for the tire and the gas and everything, but I was still hungry and ashamed to ask for food. About that time, a car pulled into the gas station, and a beautiful lady stepped out. She was holding an electric stew pot. We exchanged smiles, and I almost fainted at the delicious smile coming from her pot. We spoke a few words as she moved closer to me. "Well, honey, you look like you could use a good meal," she said, her voice soft and coaxing. "Well, actually, I'm very hungry," I admitted, eyeing her kettle. "Why, you look like you're eating for two," she smiled as she considered my belly. "As a matter of fact, I feel as though it's been more than starving for two." I chuckled, although I was actually quite serious. "Here," she opened the pot. "Have a pork chop." The smell was overpowering. "Well," I hesitated. She insisted and put the luscious food right under my nose. "Well, thank you," I almost cried, reaching into the pot. When my teeth sank into the tender, spicy meat, I knew that I'd died and gone to heaven. And this sweet lady had to be an angel. She stood there clucking her disapproval at a world that would allow a young pregnant woman to go hungry. She was relentless in her compassion. She held her strong arms on my shoulder as I ate, and I sobbed my gratitude. I ate 4 pork chops, and they melted in my mouth, sending their warm nourishment into my bloodstream and feeding my baby. She was an angel of mercy who guessed that the burly young man who could charm someone out of a new tire and wheel money was not all he seemed. She could see I was miserable, that I was homesick, and that my baby and I needed help. "Remember," she said, "God didn't put us on this earth to be miserable. If there's anything you can do to better yourself, do it. God will see you through. He will go before you, and he will be your rear guard." She pressed a 20 into my hand and climbed back into her car and headed in the opposite direction. Later, I asked the mechanic, "Who was she?" "Who?" he asked. "Why, the beautiful lady I was with." "Well, I don't know what you're talking about," he said with a growl. "I haven't seen any other lady today." "Well, she was right there with me. I ate nearly all her pork chops." I thought he was an idiot. "Nope, no lady like that. And if there were pork chops, I'd have smelled them." I was stunned. Had I eaten 4 pork chops? It couldn't be that I imagined it. My stomach felt full, and I could smell the heavenly aroma. I asked my husband if he remembered her. No. Are you out of your mind? You were standing alone all the while. I was sick of hearing you whine about how hungry you were. I felt the 20 in my hand, and I hit it. I felt the food giving me strength. I had not imagined that she was real. There are always those who might say it was a dream. Perhaps my hope fed my hunger, and perhaps God in his mercy sent an angel to meet my needs and make me feel his love. Months later, when I finally escaped from my ex-husband, I became the first person in my family to get a divorce. I was treated like a fallen woman by some, but with each slur I thought of the compassionate African American woman who shared a loving meal with a pregnant white girl in a gas station in a segregated South. She was right. God did go before me, and he has been with me ever since. Time after time, the Lord has provided someone to help us in a desperate time. They may appear with people not seeing them come, and when they've accomplished their mission, they disappear, and there's no one who has witnessed them. But the Lord works to help us in wondrous ways. And you know, it really is supernatural. And perhaps one of those angels may minister to you. And just rejoice and give thanks, for the Lord has made it possible. Blessed, may the Lord bless you and keep you safe. Amen.